this is just a short intro because our episode got broken up into two parts. So basically just introducing this. If you're watching this and you haven't seen the other one, part one, go and check that out. But part two is basically just our continuation from Esperance to Perth. So hope you enjoy it. Check it out. Here we go.
You need to do so. That was a positive in that
well, originally we're thinking, 5 p.m. we're not going to need that long to stay here. Like, what's there to do in Albany? But that night we actually went for a drive, got some more groceries and stuff, and actually found the Anzac.
The National Anzac Centre.
National Anzac Centre, so we thought it's got the word national and it's got to be pretty good. So we went up there pretty late at night and just thought we'd go and see if it's worth checking out in the morning. And yeah, there's a bit to do there.
More than we thought.
So all the reviews actually, when we looked it up again, said it was like really good, and it's free to explore the surroundings of the.
Yeah, there's two parts. There's the grounds themselves, which you're free to explore, and then there's the National Anzac Museum, which is a paid part of it. The reviews I was reading there's lots of reading throughout it, and so it's not suited to younger children. So we gave the paid part a miss, but
we
came
actually came back the next day. So, but we were talking about the Anzac thing, so I might as well keep going on it. We actually did. What was that trail called?
Naval Coastal Defences Trail.
I think it's called the Naval Coastal Defence Trail.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Like, I don't know, you walked along the old fence line.
The man prevention fence, I think it's called.
Also a little bit daunting because you hear things scurrying and moving around, and there are lizards.
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 Yeah. And they don't move.
There's lizards everywhere through there.
But you got to walk along. There was trenches, like one of the original trenches from First World War, Second World War.
Yeah, so you get to see the store where they actually stored all the munitions and stuff in there. You can't go further down; they've all blocked it off. But it's just surreal to actually be walking in there because I guess when that place was set up, is it World War One?
World War One, yeah.
World War One was actually a staging place for all the naval ships.
The Allied forces.
Yeah, that just all basically gathered together.
Yeah. So New Zealand, Australia, the British Navy, Indian, like all the ships that were, I guess, becoming part of this assault. They all rallied, almost like Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, and then basically on the lookout when you're over there, they actually have got a plaque showing where all the ships were. They're actually trying to envision all these ships out in this bay, ready to go to war, and it was quite surreal to even think about that, wasn't it?
Well, that it was so close to home. Like you think the war was, in Europe or it was in the Pacific or somewhere like that, but to know that we had a rally point like this and these guns and these gun mounts up on the hill and these trenches and these fences, it's on Australian territory. It was quite
and that was there, like the big cannons and stuff out there that are overlooking and protecting
the bay, and it showed you how far the weapons could go, and you just think, well, it's a perfect spot to have them all there.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool, just exploring that area. We just didn't realise how much there was to see just in even that loop. And then when you walk a bit further down, there's like missiles, or I don't know what you call it. What did you call it, Jensen? The missiles, something?
It's the Dassault missiles that the Russians use nowadays.
Yes, there's a whole bunch of torpedoes and different types of missiles there, and gun mounts, and the kids actually jumped on one, and I was watching them, and the thing starts spinning, and then they start spinning it around.
Wind, and it would spin and rotate.
Around, and then next thing you know, the gun was moving. You could maneuver the gun up and down.
It was stuck at first, but then when Daddy did the gun, he's got it unstuck, and then
Yeah, see, I fix things, so I managed to figure out how to get the gun going up and down, or I don't know if it's called a gun, and it was quite cool. So it's actually interactive, and the kids loved it because you could line stuff up, and as Gil said, I
was in the firing line a few times.
that was pretty cool. I'll do that.
In the buildings that are there, so there's the outside trails, but there's also a couple of old buildings. They've got like exhibits and museums. They've got a whole section on the women of the war and the local participation in the war, like the stories of old Albany and the families that served in the war. So there's different sections. You can see the old kitchen, how the old kitchen was set up. With all the married soldiers would come. The mess halls. There's lots of information on the HMAS Perth, which is obviously scuttled in the waters off Albany for dive sites. So lots of information as well as exploring to do, and it was all free. That was
free. That was really cool.
So we managed to do that because the caravan park said just stay as long as you need to throughout the day. So we did.
But we did that afterwards because we didn't realise there was like the natural bridge and what's the other one called?
Torndirup National Park, I think. Excuse my pronunciation if that's wrong. Which was the whole southern headland of Albany. First to the gap and the natural bridge. Now, heads up again, park passes. We didn't know that this was a paid park. We didn't know we were going to go there, so we hadn't factored this in. It was going to be $15 for the day. So I did a little bit of online research. Hot tip, you can surrender your day passes and get that upgraded to tourist passes, so 5-day, 28-day annual passes. You just need to do that at a parks office. So the visitor information, I rang them and they confirmed that information. So they can't do it on site at the information centre. It has to be done through the DBCA parks office, and they're open Monday to Friday, most of them. So we just found the next one on the path and said, right, well, we'll go and do that.
There. But you got to do it within a certain time
Within
frame.
7 days of purchasing your day pass is when you surrender it, and they just credit it. So we paid $40 for the Lucky Bay and this Torndirup day pass, and they just took that off the 128 day.
So you basically get that taken off when you get to the annual pass thing.
So had we known that, we would have just bought the annual pass earlier. But it's a good way that they entice you to get those other passes, which we use because I didn't realise that you needed it. But back to the national park.
So I don't know what's the place, that little walkway that you go onto. I don't even know what that was called, but it was really well done and really well structured, like to just overlook
The Gap.
Is it the Gap, is it? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
called the Gap. And to just see the power of the waves, and it's just so raw. So to see that happening, and then managed to get a few shots with the drone and stuff. And you know, as you're looking at it, you're just seeing this place, and it looks like it's untouched, like it's Jurassic World. And I think we've said it a couple of times. It's just magic to see. It's just nature in its natural form, you know, untouched. But yeah, that was quite amazing. The kids just got to overhang and overlook and seeing the water splash up.
It's overhanging, and you just look down and you think, oh, any moment this could collapse and I'd be in the water being tossed up against those rocks. So
yeah, so that was pretty cool seeing that. And then after that, where did we drive?
Around the corner was the natural bridge. So just that rock face.
Just like a natural bridge, because it looks like a bridge and it's made out of stone.
And the water's just worked its way through and created a bridge. So
yeah, that was really cool.
Around a little bit further down, there's a lighthouse car park / walk. What?
It is a walking.
Our review?
Yeah, you're already there, so you might as well do it. And it's not that far, so we went there and we walked up, and we really didn't find anything spectacular with it, because you can't actually get into the lighthouse. You're just walking up to the lighthouse and looking over the ocean again, or the coastline. So
Blowholes was the next one around.
Is it the Blowholes, was it?
Yeah, and this was a Blowholes that we would say put it on your list. It was pretty fun. Yeah,
so you don't really realise, you say blowholes, and from Sydney you're used to the big blowholes, and
like
you know, coming up and spurting water everywhere. But this particular one, the track down was pretty, it's not hard, but it's just, I don't know how many meters that was.
I don't know, it was all sealed, but it was downhill, and you think you're getting there, and then you're not. It goes down further.
You keep going, but as you keep going down, in the back of your head, you're realising, I've got to come up this. So the further you go, the further down you go, I've got to come up this. So anyway, it wasn't too bad to get down there, but when you get to the blowholes, you kind of hear it, and you're almost like searching for the blowhole itself. I think there was a little sign that the kids spotted.
Yeah.
And then when you get up there, you don't realise it's right there.
Yeah.
You literally are right next to this blowhole, and actually scared me because it took me by surprise. And you kind of know it's there, but you don't know how hard it's going to blow at the time. So you could get a little blow depending on what's coming through. And then this one, it just scared us, didn't it? Yeah, I did jump. I don't know if I squealed, but maybe I did squeal. But it took me by surprise how loud that blowholes can actually get. Yeah.
Just be careful. That is the main one, and that is signposted. But as you're walking around the headland and around the rocks, you can hear smaller ones going off. So it's almost just watch where your footing is, because you could end up in one. Like you hear the big one go off, and then you hear these little whistles or these little mist spots. And you think, I just got sprayed then. Where did that come from? So it's quite a little adventure. It's
pretty cool, the blowholes, to actually get up that close to them.
From there we went around to the Salmon Holes.
The Salmon Holes. So we're trying to figure out why they call it Salmon Holes, and as we're sitting in the car, we're going, one of us called Salmon Holes because you actually catch salmon there. And then when we actually Googled it, you actually do catch salmon there.
You do.
So then, what did you ask me? You can take your rod down.
Well, yeah, I did. I said you can actually bust out your rod now, because we haven't at all on the trip.
And I've kind of said the only real way I'm going to take my rod down is if some guy
came up with
a big massive fish coming down there.
No sooner had he said that than we were walking down this path, and this young kid, he would have been late teens, early 20s, holding this big salmon up. A big salmon, and everyone just looked at me going, are you going to go get your rod? Like,
let me see who else is down there.
Another excuse.
Yeah, so then as you walk down there, there's a little lookout overlooking salmon holes.
Yep.
And there were fishermen everywhere. Like,
I've never seen so many fishermen in that space. I would say there was probably 20.
Yeah, like it was just
around
gorgeous.
The rocks, around the beach, around the other headland.
Just gorgeous, like the holes itself, and it's quite picturesque. And I was just watch to see if anyone, because there's quite a walk down to the beach as well. So we'll just sit here and watch, and I don't know, we didn't really see anyone pull anything.
He must have got the only salmon that day, because no one else pulled anything.
So when we were there anyway, but you know, as a fisherman, you kind of see one person pull something out, so it kind of keeps your hopes up, doesn't
Just
it?
stay here a bit longer.
Yeah. But yeah, it didn't stay there. But yeah, went to the salmon holes, and he pulled out a big salmon. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure. One of the gents at May asked him afterwards to get a picture. So if we can find that picture, we'll put it in there and show you what that fish looks like. So yeah.
And from there we went around to there's a turn off to Misery Bay, and there's two little parts in here. So the first car park we came to was full. Like I don't know how many cars were in there, but it was full. And it's actually the trailhead for the Bald or the Peak Walk or something, Bald Head or Peak Walk, which is a serious Class 5 hike about 12 kilometres out along this peninsula, and you get full views of the bay. So the car park was full. There must have been a lot of hikers and a lot of walkers up there that day. We didn't have the time, but we weren't too keen to do it. Like 12 k's is a long walk. But that, yeah, if you're interested in bushwalking and trails, apparently that's got some really good reviews of the views and the type of track that it is from there. But we then popped out of that car park and into the Misery Bay.
Misery Bay or Misery Beach?
Misery Beach? Misery Bay.
Misery Bay. So apparently this beach got voted, was it the best beach?
The best beach in Australia for 2022.
Yeah, so we thought, oh wow, this is going to be a pretty cool beach.
Lo and behold, it is. It was.
Yeah, it was voted, and it's a beach. So we didn't find anything spectacular about it, but you read up a bit more about the criteria.
Yeah, afterwards I read the criteria of what for last year's competition, and it needed to be within a certain range of a major city that anyone could access. It had to it couldn't be remote. It had to be accessible to two-wheel drives and all these. So I can understand now why it made the shortlist, but I don't know, maybe Lucky Bay's just ruined it for us.
Yeah, I just wasn't. It's a nice beach, don't get me wrong, and it does look. There's some like rock formations and stuff around it, but yeah, it just was kind of small.
Yeah. From there we went around the next point, which was FRENCHMAN Bay, and there's a whaling centre there as well. Again, we were short of time, so we didn't realise there was as much to do in Albany as there is. So we didn't go into the whaling centre, but there was a cafe and a high tea sort of set up.
We also heard
a botanic garden type thing.
We also heard that whaling centre, you needed a whole day there apparently. So that is a paid thing as well, but we didn't have enough time to actually do that as well.
So then after that's when we went to the National Anzac Centre and spent some time there.
Yeah.
Then went around under the Anzac Centre. It goes around the bottom of the headland. There's a touristy sort of drive, and it takes you around the bottom of the Anzac Centre, and we passed Dog Rock.
Dog Rock. What do you think of Dog Rock?
It's a dog.
It's a dog? There's a bit of conjecture here whether it actually looks like a dog or not, but it's a rock with a collar painted around it.
It does look like a dog.
I guess if certain angles it does look like
A dog with its nose in the air.
yeah.
It's a running joke in my family, so we thought, well, let's just take a photo of the kids here, and so we did. So it got a laugh out of the grandparents. So we
Dog Rock. It's middle of nowhere and quite a built-up area.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dog Rock. So we checked out Dog Rock. So whilst editing this video, we also realised that we forgot to add in probably one of our favourite parts of Albany, and that was the wind farm, wasn't it?
Albany wind farm.
So we're going to give you a bit of a spiel now. It's kind of disjointed. We may look a bit different, but yeah, it's about the wind farm. So back on the way to town from
the national park.
From the national park, there's a little sign off to say Albany Wind Farm. I think it's about 15-20 k's.
About that, yeah.
If not, we'll put it down there, but it's basically worth a detour. There's a bit of a car park there, and you see these windmill turbine things all over the place, but never really get the opportunity to actually see how big they are up in person.
Yeah.
But the Albany Wind Farm allows you to do that, so literally you can get right up and close and personal to see the size of these wind turbines, don't you?
Yeah, so it gives you a little bit of a history about the wind farm itself, and then there's two lookouts that you can go up and have a look over the valley and the cliff edge with the turbines. But then it gives you the opportunity to do the turbine walk, which actually takes you around the base of all the turbines, and you can go in and have a look right up. The kids actually climbed up the stairs and stood on one of the turbines, and you look straight up. You don't realise just how big they are, even the stands, the arms of the turbines, just how how big they are, and the types of logistics that it would be to set up these wind farms.
Yeah, so pretty cool to go and check it out, and we just thoroughly enjoyed just walking around there. We didn't do the full track.
Only did the first turbine.
We just did the first time, and that was just enough to just see and appreciate the engineering and the size of trying to get these things in here, let alone in other places where they're on mountains and rooftops and that as well. So
definitely worth a detour.
Amazing thing to go and check out while you're there. But we'll get back to the video. See ya. So just outside of Denmark, we actually stayed at a place called Rushcutters on McCloud. So this is a farm stay. Pretty magic farm stay, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that was about $25. I think it was $25 a night. It was actually nestled amongst some vineyards.
In the hills.
In the hills there, and we were greeted by Ruth.
Yeah.
So Ruth, such a lovely person, just so like down to earth, almost like your grandmother that you haven't seen in a long time, and she's welcoming you home.
Opening a property.
Yeah, so it was quite amazing to stay there. So basically, you just pick whatever site you want.
Yeah, in the paddock.
Yeah, and what is it?
So you have to be fully self-contained. There's no facilities, there's no camp kitchens, there's none of that. So you have to be fully self-contained. But for a first experience of a farm stay, it was really lovely. And
then, I guess because we pulled in fairly late, Brian, is that his name? Brian actually brought out a whole bundle of hay for the cows. It's like the cows know when it's feeding time. So he dropped that in, because we saw a tractor pulling out. We thought, what's going on there? Kids were playing at the time with some dogs. With other families around there, and we saw the tractor, and we thought, the kids are getting a free tractor ride, what's going on over there? And he just dropped this bundle of hay into the paddock, and then brought out a little crate full of hay, and just allowed the kids to hand feed the cows. So the kids spent the evening feeding the cows and trying to pick which cow was their favourite, didn't you?
I didn't get any.
Yeah, so going up to there's little like calves as well through there. You just didn't realise cows were quite shy, weren't they?
Yeah.
When the kids went to feed them, but
found out later. Ruth told us later that they're actually all pregnant. So they were all pregnant. 2 of them have had their babies, but the rest of them are still expecting. So that's why they're a little bit skittish at the moment.
Yeah. So that's quite an amazing stay there. And what else was happening?
So when we stayed, I think the first night there were 5 or 6 vans there. By the time we woke up the next morning, there was only us and the neighbour left.
So I had a chat with the neighbour, as you do when you're packing up, and you had a good chat with him. So just got to know their story and what they're up to and where they're heading. And same thing, he's finding out about us, and we said, where you headed? And we said, we're going to head out to Green Pools and Elephant Rocks today. He goes, make sure you take your snorkels. I said, what do you mean? And he's like, no, take your snorkels. We took it down there, and it's actually good practice for when you get further up north. So we took his advice, and we're actually glad we took the snorkels with us, because Green Pools is quite an amazing place to swim. So
that's part of the Leeuwin Bay National Park. Surprisingly, this is one of the parks, it's beautiful, one of the parks that doesn't have day fees.
Yes.
So you can travel in there.
Yeah, and I think you actually found out a lot of the families actually come up from Albany to swim there.
It's only about an hour from Albany. So as I was standing on the beach listening to conversations happening, oh, were you a neighbour at the caravan park and da-da-da. So a lot of them travel out for the day. So it can get quite busy in there.
Yeah, so when we were there, it actually was quite busy. I think that was about 11 o'clock we pulled in, and you could see the car park starting to fill up. But we thought, oh, we're still close enough. Let's go check out Mad Fish Bay. And apparently the reason it's called Mad Fish Bay because there was a mad fish chasing other fish around there. So that's why I call it Mad Fish Bay. That was kind of cool to see, and there were people swimming in there as well. To just see the turquoise water. And then after that we went out to Waterfall Beach. And then Waterfall Beach, same thing. Beautiful coastline. Like you don't realise how lucky WA's got it with their, pristine coastlines, and just seeing the rocks and the water crashing over, and you kind of understand why it's called Waterfall. Yeah,
the waves sort of crash over this rock. I don't know what you call it, rock reef. I don't know what you call it. The waves crash over it and just cascade down the other side. So it is actually like a waterfall. I couldn't see anything else that made it like a waterfall. So that's what I'm calling it.
That's why we're assuming that's called
Waterfall Beach.
Waterfall Beach. So, but once again, when the sun hits the water, you just get this amazing colour of turquoise water, and the greens and the blues and the different shades. It's quite amazing to see the coastline. So once we did that, we headed back out to Green Pools.
Yep.
And this time by the time we got there, the car parks were chockers and full. So decided to just basically drop the kids off and let them pull all the gear out to then walk down, and lucky enough I got a parking spot like right there and then, so I didn't have to walk very far at all. So Green Pools is a little walk down a boardwalk stairway type thing, and it just opens up to this, you call it like a massive rock pool, didn't you?
Yeah, so
like swimming pool. Yeah,
I don't know, beaches in North Queensland, they make rock pools to prevent stingers and all that sort of thing happening, so they're man-made rock pools. This one was naturally formed, just the rocks of the coastline form this, so the waves break further out, and it's just this rolling wave. The kids can swim. It's still deep enough, like a big swimming pool, but it's still beachy enough to be a beach. So
yeah, we got the snorkel gear on, didn't we, kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we went for a bit of an explore and a bit of a snorkel to see what we could see.
And guess what?
What?
We saw a catfish.
We saw catfish. We saw all kinds of fish in there.
Daddy wanted to get his spear out to catch a frick.
Yeah, if you're allowed to take your spear in there, you could have caught some amazing fish, but you can't.
It's a marine park,
so you can't do that. But yeah, we managed to swim out to some rocks further out offshore, and just swimming through and just exploring and seeing what you could find down there. So it's a little bit freaky for the kids, and sometimes a bit claustrophobic because you're now breathing through a tube, which doesn't sound natural, but yeah, it was an amazing experience just being able to swim and snorkel throughout there. You stayed on the shore and kept watchful eye on us.
Make sure I could see 4 snorkels.
Yeah, so once we managed to get out to those rocks, it does get a bit choppy and wavy, and you don't realise these rocks just go deeper than you actually think, because what you can see on the water, but when you get underneath the water, you just see these rocks and crevices and stuff, didn't we? Yeah, but they are quite steep, and when you've got flippers on, that just makes it a whole lot more challenging to do. So yeah, it's quite an amazing experience, Green Pools.
So after that, we put the snorkel gear away and headed around the corner to Elephant Cove.
we weren't sure is this is another thing like
Another
dog rock,
rock.
where it kind of looks like a dog, but maybe it doesn't. But anyway, elephant rocks. It actually looks like elephants. Than elephants in the water.
It does, and not just one. Like there's, I don't know, however many there are, but whether it's the ears or the backside of or the trunk, or they do look like elephants, different sizes.
Yeah, it looks like you got, you know, mum and dad elephants and baby elephants, and yeah, it's kind of quite surreal to see these rock formations there. And once again, with that clear blue colours and greens and blues of the waters, it's quite spectacular to see that. So you actually called Elephant Cove more like a wave pool or something, do you?
Yeah, so if Green Pools is the natural rock pool and Elephant Rocks is the natural wave pool, these are bigger waves and they come more frequently and they just roll their way into the cove and
so
bounce and jump on them.
It is quite small. Like the cove is small, so there's not a lot of beach space there, but you can explore all the rocks.
And it's lined with rocks, both sides.
Yeah, so you can actually climb on top of the elephant rocks and overlook them also. So yeah, it's quite amazing spot there. The kids did swim there, and we just basically sat on the rocks and just watched them play in the water. I think we spent about 2 or 3 hours at this end of the park just playing in and around the water, the different areas. Yeah, the water is a little bit cool when you first jump in, but then you acclimatise to it, and it was actually quite pleasant. Swimming in there, didn't really want to go in at the beginning, but once you're in there, it is quite nice to swim in the water temp. So yeah.
So after that, we just headed back into Denmark, just in search of fresh water to wash off all of our gear and to top up in petrol. We didn't really find much water. I mean, we didn't look very hard, but we didn't find any water at any taps at the parks.
And the places you find, like you said, they didn't have any taps on there to actually use. So, you know, just trying to wash our gear of all the salt and stuff. So couldn't really find anything, and ended up just filling up fuel at a BP station. And when we first pulled in, this guy just comes running out of the petrol station, and I thought we'd done something wrong, but he basically just said, "Oh,
how much you want?"
And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I'll fill it up for you." I thought, this is an experience.
It's been a long time.
There's not many people that come out and fill your tank anymore. And I was having a chat with him, and he basically goes, "There's probably about 8 people that still do it, and it's not many around now that actually come up and fill your tank up for you." So that was an experience to not actually touch the pump and fill it up. So yeah, pretty cool. So yeah, the next morning the rain was there
and it was freezing
and it was cold. Yeah, so I was the only one that had to go out, and I started prepping the van to get ready to move. So right, probably one of the things that sucks is packing up the van in the wet, and it's pouring down.
It wasn't a drizzle, it was bucketing down.
Yeah, and windy, so just everything was going there, and you kind of go, what am I doing? And it kind of made you realise the girls made friends with the other caravan that was left there, and you could just imagine them looking at us going, these guys are nuts packing up in the rain. So
sitting there sipping his cup of tea, probably watching us out the window.
Yeah, just going, because they had more time, and they were just probably looking at us going, wow, these guys are nuts, or keen to get moving. But as we're moving out, we actually heard them on the radio, and they called us, you guys are nuts or crazy, actually doing that. So that's what we did, and continued on to Waterfall, yeah.
To the Parks and Wildlife Service down there.
Yeah.
So we went in, took our day passes in to surrender them, and yeah, you just go in there and say, look, I want to hand in these passes, and they just add up the difference between what you've paid and what pass you want to go up to. So we went from the day passes up to an annual pass, which was $120 is the total price. So they just took the discount off, and we were just asking some questions because one of our travellers told us that Fitzroy Crossing is now open.
There's actually a neighbour that actually told us to go on to bring the snorkels. So yeah.
So we thought, oh, that's interesting, but let's get it from the horse's mouth. And so we just mentioned that down there, and the lovely ladies, as lovely as they were and as helpful as they were, they don't know the area of Western Australia. So they said, oh, you're better off talking to someone closer. But lo and behold, someone in their office... Yeah,
I can't remember his name, but he basically had travelled all the way up there, and he kind of knew the ins and outs of what to do and what not to do, and
he'd spent some time at Carragini, I think, as well.
Yeah, so he was giving us a few tips as well, and then he did mention that the the Fitzroy crossing was now officially open to towing vehicles and caravans and whatever through there. So that was pretty. It's one thing we're a bit worried about getting up there and the thing not being open, but now to hear that it's open was quite was joy. Yeah. Joy to hear, great news to hear. So, but just amazing things to hear once again, that when you stop in and you talk to people, you start to hear different stories and get different feedback from quite a lot of people. Cool.
And then the rest of that day was rainy. It was a crazy weather day that day.
Yeah, so we were trying to get to Margaret River. But it was just torrential. The rain was there, like it just kept bucketing and bucketing. You're driving through and bucketing, like it just wouldn't stop. And then you get a little glimpse, you go, oh, maybe it's stopped now, and then nope, buckets again. So we headed out to...
We did Pemberton Pool
first. Pemberton Pool, yeah. So we dropped by Pemberton Pool thinking, oh, maybe it's going to stop. It didn't stop. We did get a bit of a sun shower, but Pemberton Pool was quite... It's amazing to see, like that was a pool that they all went to and basically swam at in the day.
I could almost picture them in the 1920s in their bloomer swimmers, like as it is just a community, just take the kids down for a swim. As you're there, it's one of those in-time memories. You can actually picture it happening.
So it was a bit too cold to swim. It was windy and rainy, but we did get a little bit of sunshine and it peeked through the clouds. And we did have a bit of a sun shower there, but we the kids
walked.
What did you do?
They walked the plank.
So they walked the plank, as they call it. So it's a little edging strip, and just walk through. If they fell in, they were getting wet, and
it was as close to the water as they were going to get that day.
Yeah, so they walked the plank. We continued on to
Cape Leeuwin,
just to go and check out the lighthouse. So basically stopped there. It was once again bucketing down
and windy,
real windy. So we had rain jackets, got the kids in rain jackets, umbrellas out, everything out to try and protect ourselves. And as we were walking up, we thought, oh, we'll go check out the lighthouse. So we had some lunch, went out, checked the lighthouse, and we got up there and realized you actually had to pay to get in. So I can't remember how much it was.
I think it was $8 for an adult and $5 a child just to look around the grounds, but then to do the actual lighthouse tour was $21 per adult, I think.
But we just weren't gonna do it because it was pouring down, it was raining everywhere, so there was no point us doing it. So we kind of took the little shot of the lighthouse with the kids there, but we did get to see the lighthouse spinning with its light on. So yeah, that was a different sight to see. So and then we just continued on to
Hamelin Bay.
Hamelin Bay, yeah. So Hamelin Bay, we heard that you could see stingrays and manta rays
just on the shore,
swimming on the shore. But we, because of the weather
wasn't our friend.
No, it was just choppy and windy. So we did manage to go for a walk along Hamelin Bay, but we never saw anything.
Fun fact, the ocean water was warmer than the rain. It was like a bath when the waves actually crashed up on your feet.
We actually could have swam in that.
We could have swum in it.
They probably could have swam in it, but it was too cold, it was cold on the outside. The water was nice, but we thought we might be able to get lucky and see some stingrays just swimming in the shoreline there, but it was just too wet. Not too wet and too choppy for them. So we stayed at GLENBROOK, which is just outside of Margaret River. Another farm stay. It's nice. They got like a camp kitchen and so forth through
and
there.
Amenities. They've got a toilet block in there.
Toilet block with hot water, so you can have hot showers and stuff through there as well. There's lots of kangaroos everywhere, so they mentioned just be careful when you're driving because there's some of the older kangaroos around, but there's kangaroos and horses and stuff. There's plenty of room out there. I don't remember how much that was.
That was for us $30 a night. She does charge more depending on the age of your children and how much water you're going to use. They are on tank water, so they just gauge a little bit by what amenities you're going to use. I just told her that we've got enough water and we're fully self-sufficient, so she just charged us the $30.
Yeah, so it would have been lovely to be there and stay long. It was just torrential rain, like absolutely bucketing down. So we just basically camped up for the night, pulled in, and just
Watched a movie, I think.
yeah, I
Didn't
think we
we?
watched a movie that day. So we knew the forecast and we could see what the weather was doing. But driving in, you do realise there's lots of caves and stuff around the area. So once again, another tip was someone said, "Oh, you need to go check out Giant's
Cave.
Giant's Caves." So we thought, oh, we'll go see what it's about, you know, whether it's good or not. You're always a bit hesitant sometimes to see what it is, but we actually went down there and checked out Giant's Cave, and that was an amazing
experience.
To see Giant's Cave. So that was, I think, about 47 or 50 bucks for us.
$57. Yep.
But when you get there, you rock up and they basically show you the map of where things are, what to do, what to climb.
The structure of the cave.
Yeah, and he started saying you're going to go down this ladder, then you got to hang off this rope and grab this chain. We're thinking, oh, what have we got ourselves
behind you and do
into?
this. And...
but he was also lovely. So they give you a little bit of a rock and teach you through a bit of the history of the cave and what's actually down there. So
and then they give you a helmet with a flashlight on it and say, off you go.
Yep.
And that's it.
And that's it. So it's a self-guided tour of the cave that you just basically, you're on your own.
Yeah.
There's no one there to show you, no one there to guide you. Basically, you're just trying to remember this map that this guy told you at the start to follow. So I don't know, I couldn't remember anything. Luckily enough, you're good at remembering stuff. So
like, oh no, this is this chamber, and no, that, then we've got to do this ladder, and no, we've got to do this. No, we're not there yet.
Or it's 3 ladders up, then you should come to a little ladder, and then you get to a bigger ladder,
and then a big ladder, and a little ladder.
Anyway, so it's quite an experience. But as you walk down into the mouth of the cave, you're like, wow, this is pretty special to be able to do this on your own. So the guy did mention to us that the stairs are quite slippery. So, you know, as I was basically filming, put the camera down to have 3 points of contact is what he was saying.
I had my hand and
heard
sit down.
Jensen just skate all the way down. So as I was about to yell at him to do 3 points of contact, he was down a flight of stairs in like seconds, and thankfully enough, Kel was down the bottom and braced herself.
Yeah.
So by the time she looked up, she actually caught him. But yeah, that was pretty scary because there was a long way down, and he slid the whole way down these stairs
Like he
on
had
his
ice
feet.
skates on.
Yeah, literally like he had ice skates going down these stairs. It would have been 15 or 20 stairs, and he went all the way down. Kel managed to catch him. At the end of it, I think he was a bit shocked what he actually done, and he cut his hand a little bit on the bars, but it could have been a lot worse.
So that's before we even got into the cave.
That's before you get into the cave. So
then you get down into the actual where the roof fall happened, and down into the cave, and it just opens up into these chambers, and so you leave the rain, and then you're in darkness and dampness, like this warmth, this humidity in this cave, and you're on your own. You turn your light on and off you go.
Yeah.
So you wander down, and that opens up into the first chamber, and you're having a look around, and you're trying to find different things and get your bearings, and then you go deeper and deeper, and you lose the light from behind you, the entrance light, and it gets even darker again. And so he said to us, when you get to this ballroom, he goes, stand in the middle and turn your lights off. And so we did that, and it's pitch black. Like there's no echo. So as you talk, it doesn't echo through the chambers. It's so quiet in there, and so
it's quite surreal
eerie.
that you're in the middle of this cave. Like, there's no one there, and I guess if you haven't done caves before, you're probably better off doing we've done show caves before in the past, so this is something that we've never done before. But when you do the show caves, you actually get an appreciation, or they teach you about what to see and what to look for.
The stalactites and the stalagmites and the curtains and the coral and the brains and the...
But yeah, this particular cave, you're down there by yourself, and you're actually looking for these things yourself. So when you start to see, and you see the formations, and you know roughly how long things take to grow and how they're formed, you get a greater appreciation, and it's like you're exploring this cave for the first time. So
you're following a riverbed through the bottom of this cave, and so to be in there and go, wow, there was once water in the bottom of this running through here. Some parts you're walking on sand, and then other parts you're walking on crystal that obviously is now a little bit destroyed from human touch, but and then there's rocky bits, and then you can see where they've fallen, and then it was quite an adventure. And then you start to, from that chamber,
I can't remember how far down. I think you're about 82 or 80-something meters down underneath from ground level. Yeah, and then once you walk all the way down or climb all the way down, you then have to ascend back up. So to do that, you're up a series of ladders.
And this little, I guess you crawl up through. So you do a big ladder and then a little ladder. Then you've got to turn around behind you and then reach for another one, going back up this little crevice that way. It was very tight for the adults.
Yeah, so the kids got up there quite easily, but even it's a little bit tight for them, and you got these helmets and stuff on, so you're lucky you got the helmets on, because you're banging your head every now and then. So you got up through there, and you literally got a chain to pull yourself over another rock to climb up, and then
and if I didn't make it,
you keep going through these chambers of rocks, and then get to a point where you're actually physically on your knees, crawling through over a rubber mat. So yeah, it's quite a different experience to be inside that cave and exploring it.
But then I think the next chamber you climb into is the arborist chamber.
Oh yeah.
Which is different. It's something we've never seen again, where the tree roots from above have grown through into the cave and have now been crystallized in the crystal. And so you're looking up, and there's tree roots just in amongst the crystal, and the it adds a different dynamic as well. And then from there, so that was, you came back up into that one, and then you went down this rope climb was the next bit. Yeah,
and you're literally hanging onto a rope as you slide down the cave. So this part, I think, hasn't been fully developed yet, and it's obviously probably due to funding. Because as you go down and you're crawling through, the next part of stepping up, it's not quite as polished as the first entry parts, with all the stairwells and stairways.
But that's part of the adventure. It was so...
But we loved that
bit. We loved it. It. It was so good. And the headspace is a little bit... So you've actually got to duck and weave, and it was pretty fun.
So we actually loved that. We loved that whole adventure of exploring that cave. But for the price that it was quite an experience to do. So Giant's Caves down there at what's it called?
It's in the Margaret River region. There's a whole heap of caves. There's lots of show caves down there as well, but this one is run by Parks and Wildlife, and it's called Giant's Cave.
So then we hitched up, and then we went out to Busselton. So we actually went out and checked Busselton Jetty.
Yeah. So that was, we just did the walk. So there are many different options of seeing the jetty. Obviously there's the train, and then you've got the underwater area, all varying in price. I think the most expensive was $37 per adult and $22 a child, I think it was, to do the full experience. And it was about $20 to do the train. So
there's a little ticket office in there where you can go in and purchase stuff, and they've actually got like a bit of a museum and stuff in there as well, to kind of just show you how the jetty was and why it was there and what happened, the history behind it, jetty itself. So yeah, that's quite nice through there, and there's lots of little volunteers and stuff around helping you out to kind of decide where you go. So we ended up just walking it.
That cost us $4 an adult to do that.
Yeah, the kids were free to do that, and the jetty I think is 1.8 kilometers. 1.8 kilometers long. Yeah. And along the way there's little markers on the ground that kind of
show you your distance that you've traveled,
to encourage you. And then Jensen stumbled upon, I guess, some of the, what did you find, little quizzes or something, or trivia?
Jetty trivia questions.
Yeah, so you find it, and then as you go to the next one it tells you the answer,
and then asks you another question, so you make it to the next one. And there's little wind shelters or sun shelters along there as well, so you can take your time. Thankfully the rain did hold off for us, and the sun started to peek through.
We did get some sun through there, so
we quite enjoyed that walk out there. But
yeah, there's lots of things to do there. You can fish off there, you can snorkel off there, you can swim off there, and it's a day pass, so that $4 or whatever is for the whole day. And that actual money goes back to the, I don't want to say conservation, but it's more to do with looking after the jetty and the maintenance of the jetty. So, you know, that little fee you pay allows you to do that.
You should mention, while we were there, the last 150 metres of it is closed. They're actually revamping the, I don't know what you call it, the final end of the jetty. They're putting in a cafe and a function centre and different. So we couldn't actually get to the end of the jetty, but maybe by the time you're there, everything else will be open.
Yeah, it's like it's just there.
It's just there, and you can look around the fence and you can see it, but you can't get there.
You just can't get there. So
and then on the way back, we were balancing on the train track. So the train had long gone, but we decided that we'd try and test our balancing skills on the way back. I think the highest step count was me. 59 I made it without falling off, so that was kind of cool. Yeah,
that was all we basically did at Busselton, and yeah, we headed off basically, just headed off to Perth.
Headed into Perth.
Yeah, so we'll probably leave it there at that video. So yeah, as usual, if this video has been informative, I'd love you to give us a thumbs up, and while you're at it, hit that subscribe button, because we're always checking out new sites and playing around with different gear and equipment. So we'll end that video here. Stay tuned for the next one as we continue heading north. So that's it. See ya.
Bye.